everybody, this is Alaska Baking, and I'm Spencer.
And I'm Sue, Spencer's mom. Today we're going to do a video that shows you how we made rhubarb muffins.
So, this is the first video of hopefully a ton, where we're going to be showing you how to make lots of our favorite baked goods and sweets, because everybody loves bakery treats.
And we both love baking.
Okay, so today we're going to make our rhubarb muffins, and the reason we chose this video was because we have our own rhubarb bushes in the backyard.
Thanks to my friend Bruce. Thanks, Bruce.
And also, we're going to be posting a lot more, so make sure to subscribe so you can keep updated on our newer videos. And if you like this video, please leave a like and comment if you have any future bakery goods that you want us to show you how to make. Or if you made these and you liked them, make sure to comment that as well. So stay tuned for future videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one. So we're going to get right into it. To start, we're going to get some rhubarb, and there are two different types. There's red rhubarb, which is more commonly known because it's got the red stalks that rhubarb's known for. But there's also green rhubarb right here, and it's just got whitish green stalks. So to start, we're going to get some red rhubarb, and typically you're going to look for the bit larger leaves like here and here, because they usually have bigger stalks. So here we're going to go down at the root, and we're going to just use a nice serrated knife, and you can pull it off. So now we're going to cut it here also, and we're going to just get a couple red ones and then a couple green ones. Okay, so I'm getting some of these thicker ones, and one way to tell which type of rhubarb you're supposed to use is here you see on the tip, it's all filled in, but with the stuff you're not supposed to use, you can see here, it's hollow, the tip is, and that's a sign that you're not going to actually use it to eat. So you make sure that it's not hollow on the inside. So now we got a good amount of green and red rhubarb, and we have some more inside the house. So we're going to add that to this. And now we're going to go over the ingredients, other ingredients necessary to make the rhubarb muffins, and then we'll start cooking it.
All right, now we have Spencer collected and cut this fresh rhubarb from our yard. And we're going to prep it, wash it, and cut it up. But before we do that, always wash our hands first. And I'm actually going to do this part because Spencer's got a cast on, and as much as he might wash his hands really good, it's a little tricky with the cast. So we're going to be really clean. All right, we're just going to wash all this rhubarb really good. It's probably pretty clean. It just might have a little dirt on it, but it's always good to wash any produce you're working with before you start prepping it. Okay, so now we have our clean rhubarb, and the next step is to cut it up into the quantity we need, and the recipe calls for 1 to 1.5 cups of rhubarb in 1/4 inch diced pieces. This is going to be more than we need, but what you can do is, now that it's all washed and after you dice it, you can freeze it in a bag and use it for your next round of muffins or whatever else you want to use it for. So here we go. Watch your fingers when you're doing this. 1/4 inch is about that much, so it's pretty small. Sometimes when a recipe calls for 1 to 1.5 cups of something like a fruit or a nut, I tend to go toward the 1.5 cups because I like to have a little bit more of a fruit in it. Okay, so we're just going to measure, like I said, about 1.5 cups of rhubarb, and that's pretty good right there. And so you see I have a little extra left, and you know, this was about 10 to 12 small, skinny-ish stalks, and I have that much left over. And if you had bigger stalks, it might be like 2 or 3 big stalks, just as a general gauge on how much it actually takes to make a 1.5 cups.
So here we have all the ingredients we're going to need to make our rhubarb muffins, and some of them are already measured out. We've got flour here, sugar, rhubarb, and it's been diced up. We're going to have 2 eggs, and then we're going to have 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of butter, and make sure that's completely melted and then cooled off. We're also going to have sour cream, pure vanilla extract, baking powder, ground cinnamon, salt, and baking soda. So now that we've reviewed the ingredients, we're going to get right into mixing them together and making our rhubarb muffins. So we're going to want to make sure we have a rack in the center of our oven, and then we're going to close it and preheat it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to let that sit until it's done heating, and meanwhile we're going to begin making our muffins. So to start, I'm going to use a large bowl and mix all the dry ingredients together. And first off, we have 2 cups of flour. So I already have it measured out, and I'm just going to pour it in and make sure you get all that. Then there's 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and all these just go straight in. And then I'm going to use my measuring spoons, and I get 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder and a half. And then I only need 1/2 of a teaspoon of the baking soda. And we'll just get that. And pour that in. And then for the salt, we're also going to just need 1/2 teaspoons. And make sure to pour it over the bowl. And then finally, we have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Although I'm just going to eye it because it's just for flavoring, and it doesn't matter if you put in too much or too little. Just try to keep it approximately 1 teaspoon. So now I've got all the ingredients put together, and I'm going to use a whisk, and I'm just going to mix them all together with the whisk. And you want it so that they all combine and you're not getting like one type too much from the other. And it'll just kind of look like a dry mixture because there's no moist ingredients in it yet. In this next step, I will be showing you how to mix together all the wet ingredients. Unfortunately, I accidentally added the rhubarb alongside them when I was supposed to hold out until the wet and dry ingredients were combined. I think this will be a forgiving mistake and it'll probably work out fine, but I'd like you to note that you should hold out on the rhubarb until you've mixed the wet and dry ingredients together. And you can look at the end of the video where we're going to have the recipe for you. So I'm sorry about that, and we're just going to continue how it is. Okay, once we have all our dry ingredients mixed together, we're going to set the bowl aside and get a medium-sized mixing bowl out. And here we're going to mix all the moist ingredients and everything that we didn't put in the dryer. So we've got our 1 stick of butter, or 8 tablespoons, and as I said before, we've melted and cooled it. We've also got 1.5 cups of rhubarb that's been diced, 1 cup of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 2 eggs. So to start, I'm going to pour in my butter, and make sure you get all that in. And then once that's done, you'll get out your rhubarb, pour all that. And you can use your spatula to make sure you get all the ingredients in. And that's going to be especially helpful for the sour cream. So I'm going to just ease it out with the spatula, make sure I get all of that. Then I'm going to get my 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then I'll crack my 2 eggs into the bowl. So now I'm going to whisk together all the wet ingredients, and I have to be a bit careful because I added the rhubarb and I don't want to injure it. So I'm just going to get it all mixed together. So now I'm going to pour in the mixture that's with all the wet ingredients into the mixture with the dry ingredients. And I'm going to use the spatula to help it come out. And once we get all this stuff in, this is where I would have added the rhubarb if I had followed the directions properly, so that I didn't damage them at all. So if you're following the recipe properly, you're going to add the rhubarb in once you're done emptying all this stuff. So now I'm going to gently stir the 2 mixtures together, And you don't want to over stir this because the batter will be thick, so don't try to keep stirring till it thins out. So you're just going to gently mix together all of the ingredients until they all combine into a thicker batter.
Now we have our bowl. I'm taking over at this point because it's easier to do this without a cast on. So we are using these little muffin holders. I usually don't use these, but I happen to have some around. Usually I just spray the muffin pan with some Pam cooking oil. It doesn't matter which way. So what you're going to do, since the recipe says this makes 12 muffins, we are going to drop with 2 spoons into the muffin, little paper muffin things, maybe about 3/4 full. They are gonna rise, so you can kind of eye it. Oh, about 3/4 full. All right. Well, actually, look at this. The recipe said it was supposed to make 12, but it turns out it's making more like 16, which might be because we opted to put in more rhubarb. The recipe called for 1.5 cups, or maybe I could be filling up the containers a little bit more, but they will rise, so I wanted to leave some space in them.
Before we can put the muffins in the oven, we're going to add a bit of a topping to them. So here we have 3 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to use half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, or roughly half a teaspoon, so I'm just going to put a bit in there, a bit more maybe. And then I'm going to mix it together a bit, and then you're going to add a generous half teaspoon of this little mixture to these muffins, and you're just going to sprinkle it on the top, like so. Okay, so now that we got the half teaspoon of the mixture on top of all of them, we're going to put them in the oven. So I'm going to put this one in the middle rack. Just slide that on. And then we're going to put the other one on the top rack just because we don't have enough space down there. So this one may take a bit longer to cook, but that's alright because the main ones are going to be done earlier. So we're going to close up the oven. So now we're going to set the timer for 18 to 22 minutes, and I'm going to set it for 20 just to split the difference. You're going to want to make sure your muffins are golden brown, and the ways to tell if they're done is to either poke the top gently, and the dough should mostly rise back up, or if when you put a toothpick into the dough, it comes out with none of the dough clinging to it. So we're going to let the timer go, and then we'll be back right after. So the buzzer just went off, and I'm going to check with a toothpick here to see whether the muffins are complete. So here we go. And we can just pull out. So as you can see, none of the mixture really came off. So that's a sign that our muffins are done. So I'm going to take out the muffins now, and then we're going to let them cool off over on our stove. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the oven, and I'm going to take the muffins out of the oven. So you got to be very careful because your muffin tray is going to be super hot. So you should be using hot pads. And I'm going to just get onto the sides and pull it out, and then I'm going to lift it up and bring it over to our stove, and then we're going to let it cool off before we try them. Okay, before we try our muffins, I'd like to thank nicecooking.com for the recipe for these rhubarb muffins, and now I've got my panel of judges with me, and we're going to test to see how these taste. So let's dig in, everybody.
Excellent. Except for I kind of tasted those rhubarbs were put in too early.
Phenomenal.
I'm joking. Actually, the rhubarbs being put in later didn't seem to make any difference at all. Sometimes baking is forgiving. Good job. I like the sour cream flavor in it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had these with sour cream in them before, so it was something new, and I think it really added to the flavor. So, I'd say this is very successful. We're going to be posting a lot more, so make sure to subscribe so you can keep updated on our newer videos. And if you like this video, please leave a like and comment if you have any future bakery goods that you want us to show you how to make. Or if you made these and you liked them, make sure to comment that as well. So stay tuned for future videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one.